And we were in one of the focus groups last semester for the IT committee, and Devin started talking about some of the things that she does. She teaches online. Do you do any online at all? The whole online here?
No.
No, you've taught, but you've taken online classes, and she teaches hybrid now. So people are really interested in some of the things she does because it's a challenge to have both the face-to-face and the online in the same semester with the same students. Anyway, so Devin is here, and we also have Renee Shakino here from TLTC. I'm never sure, did I say that last name? Okay, there you go. All right, that was experiment with different pronunciations. Like my own names, like Balkin, Balkoon, Balkan, no one really, it's like, I thought it would be easier than McAleer, but clearly not. So is also here, and at the end, in the last, at the last part, Renee will talk a little bit about the processes if you want to do a hybrid course. If you have questions, she's here too. And if any of you have done this, pipe up. So otherwise,
Thank you, Mary. So just a little bit about me. I received my master's here at Seton Hall in 2012, and it was through an online, the entire master's program was online. And I absolutely fell in love with online learning. I wasn't quite sure how I would feel about it, considering my undergraduate, every class I took was traditional classroom. And then fast forward, my second year of teaching, I taught at County College of Morris, and they offer Speech Fundamentals, which is oral comm here, as a hybrid course. And since I was the last one hired, I didn't have any options, and they gave me the hybrid course to teach. And I thought it was interesting because I taught oral comm here in a traditional classroom and hybrid public speaking at County College of Morris. And I saw the difference in the way the students actually retained information. And so 2 years later, I had gone to one of the other faculty members in my department and had said, hey, what do you think about bringing hybrid learning to the comm department? And they were saying, what an amazing idea. This professor was actually a professor in my master's program, but was never actually one of my professors. So I designed organizational communication, and most recently designed managing reputation in crisis, which is also a hybrid course. And how many of you have taught hybrid or been a part of a hybrid? Nice. What courses did you guys teach?
I taught a course for another university. It was part a travel, going destination course, and the other part was online. So that's hybrid, right?
Yeah, and you met face to face.
Yes, we did. Met face to face for a week, and we also did the first part was online.
Nice. For the hybrid here, what we do is we meet once a week face to face for an hour and 15 minutes, and then the rest of the class is online. What I've found is that undergraduates, from their feedback, they prefer a hybrid course over a complete online course because they say that they struggle in staying on top of their work. They said that the hybrid is a friendly reminder. Every time we meet face to face, it's a friendly reminder of what's expected of them. So I haven't taught online yet. We're trying to move one of the hybrids online for a summer class. That's one of our goals. So it'll be interesting to see how that class runs as an online opposed to the hybrid. Who else had you had taught?
No, I just contributed to there have been courses where there are cohorts that meet here,
Yes.
and then I provide some online library orientation for those who are not here once they're online. So.
That's great. I mean, any type of experience online, I feel, is beneficial. One of the things that I like about the hybrid versus online is the face-to-face interaction. Is the students are able to see each other. In online, you don't know each other on campus. Sometimes you don't realize that you have class with the same students that are in your online class. So in the hybrid, the students have really found that since they can meet face-to-face, and then when they communicate online, they can put a face to the name. That's one of the greatest advantages of the hybrid. Some of the disadvantages of hybrid are students don't typically understand what a hybrid is. So I've had students not show up to class for the first 2 weeks. And then I would send them an email, hey, I was just wondering, I've noticed you've been on the discussion board, do you plan on coming to class? Oh, I didn't know that you have to come to class. So they end up dropping the course because they have an internship during that day, or they're just not able to come to campus. But outside of that, I really haven't found that many disadvantages. The best way to prepare for a hybrid is making sure that all of your information is in your syllabus. The difference between the traditional and hybrid is I have everything outlined from face-to-face, what we'll be doing face-to-face and what we'll be doing online in the syllabus, because they need to know what's coming up next. And they like to know exactly what is going to be the focus for the next week. I even put the discussion board post in the syllabus so that they have the ability to look at that as well, like while they're reading. So it can be a little bit tedious, but at the same time I let them know that it is subject to change. So for instance, this week we were talking about media and reputation in management reputation crisis, and I had them, one of the discussion board posts that I obviously didn't put in was I wanted them to watch Trump's State of the Union, and then the next day analyze how the State of the Union was, how it was being portrayed in the media, in traditional media and social media, in the news, all those kinds of things. So today we're going to talk about that in class. One of the things that I do in my hybrid course is Blackboard. I put a lot of emphasis on Blackboard and the discussion board. When you guys had taught hybrid or online, was it an active discussion board, or was it if you post one question, they just had to answer it and that was kind of it for the week?
It was threads.
It was threads.
It was active.
What'd you say?
Active.
It was active. And so that's, sometimes professors will throw up one or two discussion board posts and they just have to answer it. And it's not really the discussion. And what I found is I require the students to post 9 to 10 times a week. They're like, oh my gosh, that's so much. I'm like, it's really not though. I put up 4 initial posts which they're required to answer. And then they have to respond to 5 other posts within the discussion board throughout the week. And the thing about the discussion board that's really different than the classroom is that A, nobody can hide. You can't hide. You have to participate in the discussion board. I attach a lot of points to the weekly post, so it's 20% of their overall grade. So if you don't ever participate, the best you're going to get is a B- in the class if all of your other work is perfect. So I found that by putting a lot of emphasis on the points for the discussion board, it does help them to participate more. I've also found that in this last semester and this semester, that I've had to micromanage the board a little bit more than in the past. So my class meets on Thursdays. I have all of their discussion board posts and assignments due Wednesday by 11 a.m. And I was like, why would you have it due at Wednesday at 11 a.m.? It's so random. It gives them the full week to get all of the work done. And then it gives me the opportunity to look at the discussion board on Wednesdays. So if there's anything that's been missed or a discussion that nobody wanted to touch in the discussion board, it gives me the opportunity to then bring it up in class on Thursday. I've also found that students who would not participate in class have such great opinions and such great thoughts and add so much value to the discussion board. And when we get in the classroom, they don't participate. So I'm like, you have this voice online, and oftentimes they'll say, it's because I can think about what I want to write. A lot of the times we talk about things that some are controversial, are sensitive topics, or when we're talking about theory, sometimes the students don't understand the theory, but then they begin to understand it when they see how somebody else has responded to the post and applied it to an interaction that they've had in their life. So the students actually learn so much more in the discussion board. And we don't talk about the readings when we meet face-to-face. We'll do some sort of activity, whether it's a case study, team building, an analysis of a TED Talk or some sort of something that's gone on in the media. And so we take what we've learned and then we apply it in the classroom. And the students really do like that. It reinforces what they've learned without beating a dead horse. And so, like I said, 9 to 10 discussion board posts does seem like a lot, but it really isn't. When you design an online or a hybrid course, I typically recommend keeping it to 15 students or less. It is a lot. Is that
How do you get the luxury when you have 40 students in your class of choosing 15?
Oh, no, well, we only have it open, so it's capped at 15. So it's capped at 15. We don't choose them. It's when they enroll in the course, it'll be capped at 15.
Cap in English classes is 15. Yeah,
That's up to the department.
it is.
And the team.
But there is a group of people working on this, and again, the IT committee from the Senate is having this conversation right now because it's appalling. It is appalling how, now again, we were saying in the committee, I'm sorry, Devin, I'm
No, it's okay, you can
Just like,
We were saying in the committee that there are certainly courses, well, look at MOOCs, right? So there are certainly courses where there's very little instructor sort of maybe interaction, maybe a Scantron tests, whatever. But in writing intensive courses, in anything that you really want student engagement, you can't have that many people. Yeah, right. So we are working on this to try to first find out what are some, and so Renee, actually, we're going to be tapping you because we know that you at least probably have a broader sense. You might, and we're not asking for finger pointing, but you'll have a sense of what the range is because we know that some of these classes run at really high numbers.
Yeah.
And should not, and so trying
should
to.
not.
Should not, yeah. Can we ask you a few questions along
Yes,
the way? Because
yes,
I'm
yes,
afraid
yes,
I'll
of course.
forget.
I'm just
Go ahead.
wondering, how long is your session when you meet in person?
An hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the typical, you know, if you meet twice a week, it's a typical hour and 15 minutes, and then the rest of, we're online. What I try to do when the two hybrids run is have them run in the same class section. So I had organizational communication run Tuesdays at 11, and then crisis run on Thursdays at 11 because of classroom space. And then you also get students that, in PR, it's smaller. I'm not sure how large everyone's disciplines are, but it's a little bit smaller. So I will have similar students in both classes, which can be beneficial because the information overlaps. So yeah, an hour and 15 minutes.
So, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So how much of that physical time do you spend on the activities you've done online, and how much do you, like, how do you utilize that face-to-face time?
So typically, I'll take the first 15 or 20 minutes to talk about the discussion board. Some of the things that I want to point out, because I know that the students don't read everybody's post. It's not possible. I read their posts, but they don't have the time to do that. And some of the students will finish their post by Monday, and so when everyone's doing it last minute Wednesday morning, they don't go back and necessarily read it. So I highlight things that I find to be really important, or questions that were asked that were left unanswered. So for instance, last week I had a student who, she had responded to two of her classmates, and she had said, "Thank you, Gabby and Taylor, for helping me see the holes in my opinion."
Wow.
And that's,
Wow.
Reflection.
Yeah.
but that's the stuff that I love about the discussion board, because first of all, Gabby and Taylor probably wouldn't have said anything if the student had raised her hand in class. They would have just let it go because it was a little controversial. They had the time to think about it, and they didn't attack her. And the student didn't take it as an attack because, well, I set the tone in the beginning of the class. I'm like, listen, in the first day, I said, listen, when we're on the discussion board, our goal is not to offend you or anybody in the class. That is not the goal. So if you are offended, take a step back, reread it, and then see if you really are offended or you're just kind of taken back because you don't share the same opinion. In the 4 years that I've taught hybrid, I've never had, knock on wood,
Yeah.
I've never had an issue where students have gone back and forth and argued with each other or have been offended. They'll, I teach them, I'm like, we have to learn how to communicate online. So you can say, I understand where you're coming from, but I have to disagree. As silly as it sounds, that's how they're talking to each other in the discussion board, and it's awesome. Like after the first and second week of classes, I really try to see the tone of the discussion board. And in this class, I only have one hybrid this semester. In this class, they're just such a good group of students. And it's a super diverse class. They have different opinions politically, but the way that they talk to one another, like, I wish adults could talk like this on social media. So I explain to them, I say, the thing about the discussion board is you're going to have to learn how to communicate effectively without seeing people face to face in the workforce. So this is really good practice. And so I brought that up in class because the student had mentioned that Wednesday morning. So I said, I just want to commend you for coming out and saying, almost acknowledging that you weren't fully educated and you appreciate that. And she's like, I did. She's like, I didn't see it from their perspective. And so I said to them, I said, that's the win for the semester. If I can just help one person change their point of view, as low of a bar as that is, I was like, that's success. So this week, students were now agreeing and disagreeing a little bit more because they see, oh, it's okay. They now know how to agree to disagree in an effective way. So that's that's like what I absolutely love about the discussion board. So the first 15.
So do you spend time like training them how to do that? Or is it something that happens?
Boot camp.
So it does
Hybrid
happen,
boot camp.
it does happen organically
Yeah.
in some classes, in others it doesn't. Like for instance, this class, it's been great. But I started off the semester micromanaging them, which I was saying before, I don't really like to do, but what I said to them is, our first class begins, we have class on Thursday, so the week begins on Thursday. You all have to answer the initial post by Sunday at midnight. The initial 4 by Sunday at midnight. Because I'll have 4 or 5 students that will answer them early on, and then everyone else starts Tuesday night, and then they finish Wednesday morning and I don't like that.
Right.
So I found that starting off the semester that way has been way more beneficial, and I've never started the semester like that. I had a lot of slackers last semester in the hybrid, so I threatened it, and then I had to change it, and then I was like, if we can do it on our own, I'll lift the restriction, and I never felt comfortable enough that they would continue on. So say, I have to micromanage my own children, I don't want to have to micromanage you, but if that's how I can get the most out of you this semester, that's what's going to have to happen. Yes?
Just going back a step, a great research project would be to see how students communicate online before the hybrid class and how they communicate online after the hybrid class.
That is actually really
To see
interesting.
if that has changed their way of communicating.
That is actually a really interesting point. I wonder how we would be able to go about, we can talk about that though, but how we would go about seeing how they communicate ahead of time. I know that a lot of students, I have them reflect back on their own social media. We talk about their electronic footprint. Actually, in the first week, I always say, if an employer were to comb your social media right now, would they hire you? Analyze each platform. And they're very honest. I find that they're more honest in a discussion board because they're not embarrassed. Like, they might be embarrassed, but they can get over it instead of admitting it in class. So they're way more open and honest. And they'll say, I don't post on Facebook because my mom is on Facebook and I don't want her to see what I have. That's how it is. Sometimes I post on Instagram, and that's pretty clean. My Twitter and my Snapchat are terrible. Every time. How are you going to clean it up? And so, we talk about that kind of stuff. So they're pretty honest about that. I'm not on Twitter. I know it's terrible. I probably should be just for PR purposes, but I'm just not a fan. I always say, you guys just retweet stuff and you don't even read the full article.